every B2B marketer and probably every B2B tech executive feels it. We're at an inflection point right now. Like something's changing. It's in the air. And it's not just AI. AI is complicating it and distracting, but really what's happening is that what has worked in traditional demand generation, revenue marketing, even ABM just isn't working today.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Trey King. And today we are very excited to have our guest, Rachel Reynolds from Fractional CMO Pros. And today we'll be diving into her story a little bit, as well as what it is her company does, and then some engaging insights into the technology industry. So please make sure to stick around for this one. But without further ado, Rachel, welcome. Thanks for hopping on today.
Thank you for having me.
Rachel, I think it's good that we kick things off, if you don't mind, just to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your background.
Yeah, so I've never been anything but a marketer. I'm a marketer through and through,
Awesome.
and started my career with traditional ad agencies, actually working on consumer CPG accounts like Anheuser-Busch, Energizer Battery, Earth Grains Bread, Pepsi. And it was a great experience in kind of deep diving into classical traditional marketing as it's taught in school, right? I got exposed to wonderful budgets and really smart people and had the opportunity to work on some really fun projects, some of which actually showed up in the Super Bowl. So I think that was a
Oh, wow.
great way to kind of, kick off my career and learn a lot really quickly, kind of shoved in the deep end. And as I kind of progressed through my ad agency career, found myself more and more being pulled to the B2B tech side. I think it really activated the left and right side of my brain and allowed me to kind of bring that left side of my brain into the picture. I really loved the work entailed with deeply grasping highly technical concepts and trying to figure out how to dial that down to something meaningful and easy to digest by a target audience, even though they're technical themselves, correct? And
Correct.
finding ways to match feature and function to overarching benefit based on kind of discrete and always changing, always evolving use cases. So I did that kind of, I had my one foot in consumer advertising, doing, selling fast food burgers and Pepsi Cola, and
Yeah.
my another foot in tech B2B, primarily tech products and services, as well as some marketing to and from the channel. So I was exposed to the channel, to tech, IT services and software and hardware product, all through my time with ad agencies. And then about 15 years ago decided to go client side and went immediately into leading demand generation teams in B2B tech and telecommunications companies, and did that for Level 3, NTT Data, and others. And I think it is that at that point that I kind of found my true calling, working with a tech stack and telling highly technical stories to highly technical buyers really activated kind of the data nerd in me. The tech stack let me geek out on analytics and how to build better automations. But storytelling was still central and core to what I was doing and who I am.
Oh,
And that created kind of this aha moment for me. This is
yeah.
where I belong.
Excellent. I mean, you weren't kidding around when you said you're all about marketing. You literally went A to Z in your career up until now, right? Geez, that's awesome. I don't come across a lot of people that's been in so many different obviously industry and marketing, divisions, or if I can call it that. Um, Tell me, Rachel, based on your expertise, what are like the current market trends that you're aware of, in your industry?
Yeah.
Like what ways are the wind blowing these days? What have you been noticing?
What a big question. I think every B2B marketer and probably every B2B tech executive feels it. We're at an inflection point right now. Like something's changing. It's in the air. And it's
Yeah.
not just AI. AI is complicating it and distracting. But really, what's happening is that what has worked in traditional demand generation, revenue marketing, even ABM, just isn't working today. Like,
Right.
and nobody knows why. Like, there's a lot of stuff on LinkedIn and other
Mm,
podcasts and marketers speaking to one
mm.
another, saying grandiose things like, the funnel has stopped working, the MQL is dead. And I have a slightly different take on that.
Yeah.
I think that the funnel was always and never meant to be more than a way to describe how a lead interacts with our marketing and sales process, and a way for marketing to tell the rest of the business, hey, we've got to bring certain amount of people into knowing who we are, aided and unaided awareness, to then
Yeah.
gain a, an agreement that we can have a conversation with them by filling out a form simply, right? They
Yeah.
become known to us, we capture their data. That's consent to have a marketing conversation with us, which is, for all our bells and whistles, is still us talking at them to a large degree, us kind of determining where they are in the buyer's journey and
Yeah.
what they need in that journey at that time, right? But the
Yeah.
funnel was never anything more than, hey, we've got to spend this much to get this much out. It allows us to very quantifiably determine conversion from, an MQL to an SQL to an SAL to an opportunity to a win. And if,
Yeah.
we can count on a 5% better conversion here and here and here, I need this amount of money to get this amount of money out. That was a
Yeah.
funnel, right? That
Right.
will always be the case. That will always be true in supporting sales with marketing to some
Mm, mm.
degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And MQL was nothing ever than marketing saying, hey, dudes, we think this lead might be ready for a sales conversation. Can you agree with us? And we use things like mathematical models on the back end of our marketing automation platforms to tell us, to generate an MQL,
Yeah.
and we're constantly kind of massaging our models based on sales feedback. And that will always be true. Even in a unified GTM, that will to some degree be a point of measurement, right? Those things
Right.
are not dead. What is changing is how we understand those things and how they work for us. So I'm going to look off to the side and just read off some statistics, which are sobering, in my opinion. In 2004, EBSTA says sales closing rates are down by 18%, deal values are down 21%, and sales
Wow.
cycles have increased by 26%, while a staggering 69% of reps have missed quota globally. That's our 2024
That's
in B2B
that's
sales.
that's shocking facts. That's shocking.
Something's not working, something's
Yeah.
broken, and
Yeah.
people are freaking out, right?
Yeah.
So, in addition, Pavilion conducted a study in 2021 that said that growth rates of SaaS businesses have been cut nearly in half, and net revenue retention is sharply down by 10%. So it's hitting SaaS, it's hitting Silicon Valley, and it's hitting mature tech services and tech product providers universally. It's across the board in B2B.
Oh, word.
So So if, it's not as simple as the funnel doesn't work or the MQL is dead, really what's going on, in my opinion, it is that the buyer's journey is
Right.
evolving and evolving quickly. The way B2B buyers buy has changed, and the way that we align tactics to tofu, mofu, bofu hasn't caught up to that yet. So a stat that leads me there is that in 2024, Google says, hey, branded search terms make up 49% of global searches now,
Right.
almost half. So when people turn to a SERP to conduct a search, they're not saying ERP providers in the real estate space, right? They're not
Yeah.
they're not using search for solutions. So how are they coming up with the brand names to conduct those branded searches? Peer validation. They have become so inundated with marketing material that they are deep into prospect fatigue and buyer fatigue. They're bypassing marketing messages altogether, and they're going to their peers and their networks in order to create a short list that they're then going to validate with search and then with subsequent engagement with the findings of that search. So that means that we are in the beginning of the rise of dark social and peer discovery. So, how do we insert ourselves into dark social and peer discovery? Dark social is made up of Slack conversations,
Mm.
LinkedIn messaging, one-on-one kind of conversations at trade shows and over email. So, our challenge coming up is going to be to figure out how do we kind of navigate their very kind of on the down low discovery phase of the buyer cycle and still become relevant and resonant so that we show up during validation and then do the best job we possibly can during their validation research to align to their need and use case. And that's where, ta-da, AI comes in.
That's the buzzword, right?
Right. And I think, some of it's going to be coming faster than we think, and some of it is going to have a lot less benefit than we're hoping for. We'll see. It all moves so quickly, right? But
Yeah.
one thing I think we know for sure is that buyers more and more are going to insist on kind of a buyer driven engagement experience. And that means that companies are going to have to finally, once and for all, embrace product led growth, buyer led growth, and relinquish control over the experience. Like I used to call myself an experience architect, right? I can architect the most beautiful experience for you if I understand your pain points, your needs, and your use case. And
Awesome.
they're probably not going to tell me that anymore. So
Yeah.
how do I understand that? AI is going to understand it for me without the buyer having to give me that information. They're going to predict it and infer it from signals that they're picking up across, a multitude
Platforms.
of platforms, right? So we're going to have to embrace freemiums and free trials when we've never done product led growth before. If it's a product,
Yeah.
we're going to have to embrace buyer led AI driven demos that change on the fly based on behavior during the demo and what AI infers and predicts prior to the launch of that demo. And that means our data's got to be real good.
Yeah.
And
I, I I fully agree with you. Things are going to have to get so much more specific towards that need of that potential prospect, right?
right,
To break it down, and like you said, it's because look, I obviously is already assisting us, quite a lot, but there's
yeah,
so many companies out there that is still relying on the Google search, and
yes,
still thinking that they search that way or that's the only way, and that becomes, as you know, like this bidding war obviously,
Yes.
because everybody wants to be on page one, right? So,
Which gets
that,
your CAC totally out of whack, right?
yeah,
Your per acquisition
your client
constantly
acquisition
goes
cost
up.
is going through the roof.
Yep.
That places a lot of pressure on marketing leaders in businesses. So I fully agree with you, and it's spinning out of control at the moment. So it's definitely, one thing that I've picked up, I'm not from our side, of our side of the business, is that the marketing has actually changed quite a bit, like you mentioned in the beginning, from we've seen like a big difference like before COVID and after COVID. We've seen a
Oh
big
yeah.
difference on, how prospects make their decisions. And, in a certain way, it comes down to that, I will say people still buy from people. And,
Yep.
to try and get that back again, because with the .com hitting us from the 2000s, everything just built up and became more and more less human, less human, less human. And I think one needs to maybe like tend to look back to those kind of things now again.
Agreed. And from a marketing standpoint, we can only do so much.
Yeah.
We can have our brand dialed in. We
Yeah.
can have, messaging platform dialed in. But at the end of the day, we're moving towards, we're still going to rely on automation for some
Yeah.
sort of scalability. And that means we're going to be, really pressured to introduce micro personalization, not just, at the account level, at the, lead level, at the buying committee role level, right? But
Yeah.
beyond that, we're going to have to start introducing micro personalization based on known use case. And AI is going to have to be the only way that we would be able to automate
Mm.
stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think the quality is maybe going to peer over quantity when it comes to, and obviously being more specific. But AI obviously at the end of the day will help to quicken up that process as well. So
Well, that's where ABX comes in, right?
yeah,
We're, probably almost a decade deep now into trying to figure out how to get marketing to, rather than just hand off a lead and say, good luck. It's none of your business
good
how
luck
you
and good
help.
riddance.
Yeah. Trying to align a marketing motion to what is a natural sales motion is really what ABM and ABX is all about, a unified go to market strategy. It's shocking 10 years into it how difficult sales and
Yeah.
marketing alignment and product alignment
Yes.
really can be. But, ABX is not going away. I think it's going to be expressed slightly differently. And my personal opinion is that a unified GTM can't be defined by alignment between marketing, sales, and maybe customer success. Product has to get in the mix. They have to be really involved in the GTM strategy, and they
Yeah.
have to be in lockstep with the rest of those partners.
With those partners. The well, I just need to tell you, I love this hypothesis. I think this is Rachel, I truly think this is awesome. If you don't mind, just for a minute, if we can maybe step back, I would like your opinion on, you've been at this for quite some time, but obviously, from a business founder point of view, in your opinion, what type of mindset would you say is needed to be like a successful founder of a company?
Oh, that's a good question. I've never, I am 2 years into my founder journey.
Yeah.
So, I'm learning a lot. And I think that that has to be part of it is being humble enough to say, hey, I'm a newbie. I haven't been a
Yeah.
newbie in 20 years, but I'm a
Yeah.
newbie and I've got a lot to learn, right?
Right.
So surrounding yourself with people who have been there, done that in ways that you respect. Because let's face it, there are a lot of ways to start and make money at being a founder, right? And not all of them are ways I want to emulate.
Yes.
So being really clear on who you are and what you bring to the table and kind of what you're willing to do for the success, I think is something that you need to walk into it with. I think some humility and some clarity will make those first 2 to 5 years a lot less painful.
Yeah.
And I think, some micro focus. I think startup founders, especially in the services space with a background like mine, it's really easy to say, I can do it all. What do you need?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I can do it all.
Yeah.
Being really, really focused on who you're targeting and why, and really clear on value proposition. Is kind of the best advice that I can kind of come up with as a newbie founder. Be willing to be wrong, be willing to say I don't know, and be super focused.
Super focused. Well, that's such good advice, Rachel. And tell me, where can the listeners, where can they get hold of you guys?
So Fractional CMO Pros is just that, www.fractionalcmopros.com. I think it's probably more fun to just reach out to me on LinkedIn. Let's connect and you can send me a message.
Yeah.
You might be able to tell I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm
I
passionate about solving business problems that are cool and unique, and would love to talk to people about what's holding them back and how they think marketing might be able to help. So LinkedIn is always a great way.
Excellent. Well, Rachel, it was lovely having you on. Such good value your business bring to to the table, to the marketplace. I think there's a lot of people that's going to learn a lot from this podcast, and especially those people, like you mentioned at the end, what you think your perspective on what it will take, to build a business successfully, and then as well as your hypothesis. I mean, that was excellent. It was something that I think a lot of business owners will be thinking about. So thanks for coming on, and all the best to your business going forward.
Thanks so much. It was a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. Take care.